Love the green and black suit, brother. Keep it up. All these teams playing at a very high level. And you mentioned Alliance. We heard the crowd chanting for Alliance. There's some fans up there. And obviously there's some very important people in the booth playing for that squad. Yuki, Hockeys, they have been phenomenal. This is their second time here, but in Split 1 playoffs, they had to play with a sub in Mandy. Popular player, streamer, we love him, but he wasn't that third. They have found him, and he has certainly had a big effect. Let's go to it.
So I started watching him, and I got terrified.
A complete demon. It's just someone that you don't want to meet.
If I see him in front of me, I'm generally just afraid of him.
You can kind of feel that the shots are entering in a different way that the normal player.
You feel a little bit of like, oh, hang on a second, it's effects.
He was performing way above everyone else, so I figured if he can do it in ranked, he should be able to do it in comp too.
You have to be extra careful on the way you play your game, because the slightest mistake, your entire team dies.
It seems like all of these teams that are down low are just fodder for Alliance.
It's effect. He is doing what he does best.
Aim assist. No, it's more than that. Of course it's more than that. Like, I think it's his confidence, really. I think that's it. He knows how to exploit what he has and his talent he has, and he also knows how to abuse the mechanics in the game.
Hackis on Newcastle gets the res onto effect, and now you can see effect is moving forward. The Terminator of Alliance should close this one out. It's a 1v1, but effect has all of the armor you could want. He gets back on his feet.
He knows that Yuki has his back, and Hackis is always on top of him as well, and that's when we just dominate every fight we're in.
He's well-rounded. He's good at communication, clutching, firepower, entry fragging, even movement in his controller.
The trust that Hackis has on him to do that without even like having to tell him like, hey, effect, do this or do that. Like, he's just on the right place, on the right time.
It's a lot easier for me personally because I used to be in that role, and doing that role alongside IGLing, not having to focus too much on it now, just release my shoulders a lot.
He's a very young player, and he does not have that much competitive experience.
He's a young kid, and he kind of brings like fun into the team. Nothing's ever too serious.
But he's also one of the most mature players that I've ever had to deal with. He's so talented, adorable, cute, big weeb. There's nothing to not love about Effect. Like, he's such a nice guy, and in-game, he's just like the devil himself.
He comes when he needs. He gives me information. He even makes calls sometimes, so he couldn't ask for more.
Great shots coming out of Effectus now. They push up into this one hallway and just absolutely melting.
Just send him in! Just send him in!
Does he need the other two?
If I think Effect is the best player, the youngest player probably right now, no, I think he's the best player in the world.
He might be the best controller player in the game, in my opinion, from what I've seen.
I think he definitely has the potential to be the best here. Otherwise, I would not have picked him up.
It's players like him, they don't just turn up and not do well. I think he will perform.
He's a natural competitor, and he's excited to be here, so I think he's going to pop off.
Well, the only thing I have to say is I'm going to one-click photo.
The crowd is chanting effect, and I certainly think, Dia, they have good reason to. Not a lot to misconstrue in his statement at the very end.
I will say I've loved Effect's mechanics. I think the thing that I love most about him after watching that video is his trash talk. That was pretty amazing. We saw him hit some tweets earlier on in the tournament as well, talking about how international play might have been a little bit easier than he expected. So I hope that the finals give him a bit of a challenge. But I want to talk on something that Hackis actually mentioned in that video, and it's Effect's ability to control the game using the abilities or mechanics in it. We saw him really exemplify this in the group stage, notably using things like Horizon and her ultimate to draw focus away from him so that he's able to deal damage without having lines of sight to him. This is one of the things that differentiates Effect from almost any other player on the stage right now, is the split-second instincts that he can use with his abilities to change how the gunplay ends up functioning.
Great job and dissecting that. We will see if he is going to one clip everyone right after this. However, I do want to make sure everyone knows, just as a note, that this is a big deal. We are starting a brand new award at EA. It is an award that is all about championing the power of positive play. The first ever Positive Player Award will be awarded this September. My birthday month, let's go. And we want to hear from you who should be nominated. Nominate a player who you think exudes great teamwork and positivity now at the link on your screen. All right. I know everyone is ready here, but if you're watching at home, we want to give you something a little special. You may not be in the London crowd, but you can still win something. That's right. You might not get a hoodie thrown to you, but we've got Twitch drops ready to go just for watching. And guess what? Even if you haven't caught any of the games up until now, from Thursday on, you can get every single one of these Twitch drops by watching the R99 Charbroiled skin, the Wraith skin, Fiery Fractals, the Hollow Spray, Radic, which is my favorite, and the Gun Charm Predator. I know that, Tiff, you know, you've had your eyes on these for quite a while.
Why'd you have to comment to me after you said the Predator?
Well, because you're good.
No, I mean, like, there's a lot of masters out there today in ranked, but, you know, I'm not one of them.
Okay, well, you know.
The Diamond Trail is actually more rare.
I was going for the contrast, like the lovely sparkles on the contrast of your outfit.
I get you.
Okay. All right, well, we're having fun on the desk, but you know what's more fun? Getting into the best Sunday in esports. That's right. I'm talking about Apex Legends Match Point Finals. I am ready to see who takes control, because if you don't win, we go again. Let's get hyped. Let's get ready to kick off our Split 2 playoff Match Point Finals.
Bring her over here. Thank you so much, Rain Day. Welcome, Copper Box Arena. Welcome, London. I'm Blvckhvnd. I'm joined with Gino. And today's the day, finals day, for the ALGS Split 2 playoffs. I'm so excited after having such an insane few days of gaming. Apex Legends, I love that game so much, and our players here are looking to perform their best, do their best against every other region. These teams here, Gino, I want to say, is probably the most stacked finals lobby we've ever had in the ALGS.
Exactly what I was just about to say. The best 20 teams in the world, but maybe the best 20 teams that Apex Legends Esports has ever seen. And even with that, Vicky, you know what's a little bit crazy? We actually have a couple of front runners this time, right? I think in previous finals lobbies, it feels like there's been a lot of teams who can walk away with, and certainly that's still the case, but some teams are just a cut above the rest. We're talking about Moist, TSM, Alliance. These teams have looked indomitable throughout this tournament, especially throughout that winner's bracket stage, because that, of course, is going to be the most true reflection of what we might see here on Sunday.
And being finals day means that we're going to be playing in match point format. For those of you guys that don't know what that means unlimited rounds. 50 match points dictates whether that team is going to be sitting in that match point format. Once they hit that match point eligibility, they're going to be able to have to win to secure that first place spot, that championship spot in the playoffs for today. A lot here as we get started for our first match going onto World's Edge 2, though. This is going to be a swap up from what we're used to, Gino. It's our first 2 games on World's Edge before we swap over to Storm Point for the following 2. Then we're going to be swapping right back over to World's Edge, vice versa, throughout the course of the day until we have that team that reaches that match point win a game afterwards. This is a battle royale at the end of the day. Consistency is everything, and that's why some teams, they could be heavy fraggers, but it's about the dub that matters at the end of the day. Let's get started, everybody. Game number 1 on World's Edge.
Oh, the crowd is so pumped here in the Copper Box. They've waited here all weekend. Everyone at home has been waiting for this moment as we drop into World's Edge. Countdown gets the hot zone, and we'll keep our eye to see if we've got any of those contests. Looks like this could be the first one, with Blvckhvnd going up against Blvckhvnd.
Okay. Game number 1. Looks like we're taking a little bit of a break for right now before we get started here. Does highlight, though, and gives away that we are going to have a 50-50 at least start off for our first game on World's Edge. This could swap over before we get into Storm Point. Depends on how the teams are feeling before we change up. Getting a look over at the crowd. By the way, it is a sold-out house. Yeah.
Topical shirt.
Talk about relevant though.
Look, so we've definitely got one contest already, right? That much we can say. There was another one we were wondering if we were going to get to see. That was KCP and Blvckhvnd both had put their name down for Tree. But we can see that Blvckhvnd seem to be going towards Fragment East. Fire Beavers, they were hoping to have both Fragment and Monument to themselves. But it looks like they will have to split that now. Here's a look at one of our best teams so far. Moist there had an incredible day yesterday. And one of the most, there were a couple of signs from them, Vicky, that bode really well for them today here in Sunday, right? One of those being MT showing up. Now, you've got to throw out the stats from last tournament, basically, because the man sat on crypto and just played Game Boy all tournament, right? But the fact that he's actually shown up here and putting out some kills, honestly, I think that was one of the things that was potentially keeping them from being a really top-tier contender for the title. So if MT is online, absolutely Moist are in with a chance here today.
And that actually drives me into my second question for you, Gino. The way that this finals lobby is played, once you know, oh, we are back to game, by the way. Just to be transparent with everybody at home, it was a pause before we had to get into this game and resume because there was an issue with one of the headphones, but we are not going to waste any more time now. Gio already getting engaged with this fight and going and swinging with a P2020 in the Mozambique. Sometimes that's all you need here.
Interesting. So we see Amped cover on the high ground here to try and make this contest work for Gumbare.
Having this high ground is going to mean everything here. Even if you just picked up one weapon and immediately needed to contest here for this high ground platform, Blvckhvnd playing off the low ground, the difference is here, you have that Loba, and they are going to try to initiate with a black market just yet. You want to be able to make sure you have the health advantage here.
It's really hard for Blvckhvnd. They're trying to go up these zips, even with the melee. No light ammo left in the chamber here. Strafing Flame and Fugi. I don't think he's going to be able to do it.
Blvckhvnd, the first squad to go down in this finals lobby.
You can see Blvckhvnd there completely changing up their composition. They've been playing a lot of Wraith, Watson, but no, they have to change characters because they know they've probably got this contest coming with Geo. It feels like Geo didn't change their composition as much. You don't play Crypto and Loba generally if you're going for that early contest, and yet they still come out on top. That's a very impressive fight win here, and you can see the strategies they used with those amp cover, taking the high ground. Well played to Geo.
You know what that also could mean here, that also means that they're very confident to be in this late game and win this 50-52, because this is a type of composition that you could force into that final circle position. Once you settle down with the black market, get the loot that you need without having to overextend, settle down with the rampart barriers as well. GL now going to be able to loot the rest of landside as we take a look at where our circle is going to be taking us.
Okay, we've got a hard east shift, and there's one team that's going to be extremely happy about this. We just talked about them, Vicky. It's Moist Esports. We saw the breakdown of the circles over the tournament so far. It had been a lot in the bottom two quadrants, so Moist still making that work. This is going to be so much easier for them. They love a circle that comes to them. They love being in the zone. This is going to work in their favor incredibly, assuming they've got the beacon.
You know what I also love, Gino? I also love to see some of these northern-like circles in World's Edge. We've had so many over moving to the south of World's Edge that I like a little bit of flexibility here. Blvckhvnd have also not wasted any time to make their way in Overlook. This is another type of squad that has looked to change a little bit of their composition, moving in from World's Edge into Stormpoint, but they're also looking to get the information that they can with the Crypto Dome, seeing which other squads may be within this area, as FaZe also making their way into Overlook.
Moist obviously now, yes, so they did get the ring console by the way, so that's why you can see them set up on the silo, obviously one of the best positions you can have. Other teams are starting to pile in though. Dark Zero, FC Destroy, Optic, TSM, Fire Beavers. It's one of those rings where you really do want to get in one of those buildings, maybe a position down the back where Moist is. It can be quite hard to weed your way into the circle afterwards because there really are a lot of strong positions in Overlook to hold early on.
And one of them, aside from the fact that Moist is holding the spot, you talk about 50-50 rotations depending on where the circle of Overlook may be pulling. We've seen the circle end up on the crates over to the side of Moist. You can see that they're looking behind them, and just in case there's any cheeky rotations that we may be seeing with either a Skyward Dive or an evac tower, we're gonna have to see. I know at one point you used to be able to wrap around the rock, leaving Big Mod with a Valkyrie Skyward Dive off the height, but just looking to their backs just in case. But they could also rotate through the choke point over to the side, depending on where that circle is gonna be pulling, and there would have to deal with squads like Optic Gaming, who have a crafter, which is so important to know. At the moment, you have to worry about the shotgun bolt, the double tap trigger. Soon though, if it hasn't changed already, the weekly rotation will introduce the mobile respawn beacon, which is going to be huge for some of these teams.
Yeah, it could even just depend on how long today's games go for, Vicky. But yeah, as you pointed out there's probably not going to be a huge amount of those attachments getting pulled out. Pros tend to shy away from the double tap, even if they do prefer that scout. They like the single shot. And shotguns at the moment really just not that much in the meta, right? So.
Oh no, post kill. Gotta land. Look at him. He's shimmy-shimmy right, left and right. Dancing right through those bullets.
Oh my God.
Pinging them. It's going to be KCP on the floor with the skull piercer on that 30-30. Talking about that damage. They're also going to be able to secure this building right here in No Name. Just looking at the squads that are going to be able to rotate away from Fragment East. Oxygen, Gambare as Ascend by the same crates that I was looking at before. Going in for an early rotate. That may actually cause the post kill. As we say goodbye to Ascend as our second squad to exit out of his first game lobby in 19.
Ascend have to rotate up from the dome. It's really hard for them. It's not particularly a POI the teams want to find themselves on, because sure, you can loot it quickly and try and make your way towards some of those zones, but as you can see, that it's risky when you get in. And look, as many Matrix moves as you might want to make, it's not enough to keep Ascend alive.
And to fall at the hands of TSM. So many fans in the crowd cheering for TSM, looking for another dub, another trophy under their belts. So much pressure here for this team, but they are feeling so confident going into this.
So TSM, they're quite split right now, actually. There's two going up. We've got Blvckhvnd. You can see actually just using a Dark Veil on nice and early, 2-minute cooldown on that, no worries at all for him. Worth it to grab some loot here. While the other member actually all the way back in the tunnel coming from Geyser. So they need to make sure they don't get split apart, and hopefully no one's going to creep up on them, anything like that. But I like that position they're playing, because it does lend themselves, one, to if a circle goes to the back of Overlook, but sometimes it does pull right in front of the tunnel doors in that open area.
Yeah, and it also gives them enough information to see if any teams do rotate through that tunnel, which we already mentioned, and saw Optic Gaming using the Crafter over by Geyser.
Ooh.
And if we could see where this next circle is going to be pulling, Genome, you just talked about this right here, depending on the positioning of TSM. And, they also have the natural cover, aside from the crates, of the rock side here in that foundation, so they could deal with that as LG playing more outside the circle to get information of where that next ring is going to be.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a little bit north of where Optic are right now. But teams who are in the Ghost Town area, No Name, you guys might know by.
Muammar, let's go Muammar. Ku yakin kau bisa.
It's actually a hard one to call. I would expect it more to go towards
Baru
TSM
game 1, aku mau 5
and
game
that
nanti
tunnel
bagus.
rotation we were talking about just then. But maybe some of the teams in Ghost Town will be okay for another ring or two.
But it also trickles down to how risky it could be sometimes to go for some of these early rotates, depending on how many teams and their positioning. If they settle down in Overlook very early, they can also find you in a sandwich that you don't want to be in. The squad's rotating away from Fragment East, the squad's rotating from the north side of Overlook. There is a ring console in Overlook. You mentioned it earlier when Moist landed in their POI when they got that set of information. So many other teams with this rotate looking at Riddle Order, trying to go for a scout, see which of these teams may be found. Jiro saw the Nemesis over to the side too.
Okay, Riddle Order, the most northerly of the teams right now. They're on top of Fire Beavers, obviously a team who has looked for many, many fights throughout this tournament. And they're probably happy to be seeing that ring continue south as they try and follow some teams in and grief them on the way down.
one of our APAC North squads. And, you know, after what happened with APAC North losing their spot last LAN, they're coming back for blood. They've been going huge here. I got to run into them earlier on, and they were so nice. Yukio with the style and the sunglasses, now looking at this fight with Moist Esports.
Okay, so one of the advantages Moist had of the position they took up in Overlook was that they did have control of that ring console. It means they get ring 3 information. Very important. They then use the evac tower to come back now into No Name. We've seen that. They got scanned on the way in, but they have just managed to get a prime position in one of these buildings.
EMP coming in over on the other side onto FC. Playing split up by some of the squads that are already in Overlook that may have not gotten that information prior like Moist did, and then the Ghost Town that you mentioned before that Moist have already made their rotation to. The scary part is rotating away from No Name into, if the circle does pull more so towards the tunnel, could leave you out in the open and would benefit teams like TSM that just have to clear the east side of the edge of that circle. Talking about the squads that are still in Overlook. That's a really good position for them to be in because they also won't be in a bad spot because they'll have the slight high ground that is provided there in that natural land.
Yeah, well, I mean, the other thing about TSM's position is I was talking about how it had access to that circle and then the back Overlook circle. If they can win their way through the tunnel, they can also make it into Ghost Town. So that one's a little bit harder, but, you know, they're not exposed that much as they push through there. It just depends if we've got, you know, any other caustics that can block them on the way. I believe there's only one in the lobby right now. That will be Yuki from Alliance.
Yuki loves caustic. Just an insane caustic too in general. And it benefits amazingly on World's Edge for a lot of these final circles too, especially actually talking about Alliance right now. Looking at their position, playing by the bins here is to take a much more edge approach. Also looking to see if any squads are going to be rotating away from Lava Siphon. But I believe most of the teams right now have already rotated by Geyser, close to the north side of the map already too, closer to Overlook and Fragment. Teams like Exit that like to play on the edge too are going to be one of the squads late rotating away from Fragment.
I mean, this has already been a very tight lobby, hasn't it, Vicky? I mean, we've seen two teams go down, sure, but they were pretty safe picks, honestly, for the teams who were going at them. No one's really taken any particularly risky fights just yet. That will happen next circle. There isn't enough room, really, for 18 teams now.
Looking in the distance, Exit already have information of the squad that may have height over here on the other side of Epi. While Exit does do this, though, I'm not expecting them to go for any heavy engagements. The circle going to be closing in a minute and less than 50 seconds at this moment. Looking great in terms of loop, but that's what happens when you play outside the circle. Take your time in the ring, then you make this rotate over here. But while they are also making this noise, they're letting the squads that have already the building in No Name to look at the train tracks, maybe look at where these other teams are going to be approaching from that slight low ground, close to where the respawn beacon is in the Ghost Town.
And Ghost Town is where it looks like this next circle has pulled. It's gone very central. A lot of it was over that sort of Vault Mountain pass, and thus it's gone north of there to lock in, say, Optic, TSM, Pioneers, Moist, Dark Zero even.
Well, we see this fight. Blvckhvnd already in a lot of trouble. Look who has secured this building in Ghost Town. It's going to be Dark Zero.
Oh, okay, Zero. Realizes he can't play that position. He's got Blvckhvnd under them. You do see teams often coexist in this space, but I've got to say, especially with Catalyst in the meta, those positions under there are terrible. You will constantly be having piercing spikes just getting thrown at you. You're going to waste ammo to deal with them. You can see, actually, looks like they're just going to full send them right now.
Yeah, just dropping down already. You saw the black hole put down already by Zero, but they lose out on Zyno, which I'm surprised he was the first to drop. He had the white evil shield there. That's going to benefit Blvckhvnd and even out this fight because they also lost one of the teammates. But the gravity lift immediately as Zyno's going to be able to get put down there means that they could go for a potential reset with the Catalyst helping them out. Riddle Order also in a fight. Fnatic getting eliminated in your feeds currently. 17 squads here.
Yang di rumah habis. Oh no, FBI.
For Riddle Order as Fire Weavers are your 17 squads to get eliminated. F-Chan
Zero,
fighting for his actual life. His back is to TSM and Dark Zero have the front here. They're able to clean them up inside
gimana, weh?
to deal with.
Oh, I mean, that was a little bit risky there by Dark Zero, but they have calculated it well. They clear out from them, the Blvckhvnd from underneath themselves, as well as you say, getting that extra loop. But
aku nunggu momen game pertama nih siapa yang champion di situ.
Got a little less to contend with. If they have to push out of there, having a team under you can be terrible. You can't always rely on other teams to clear out those positions.
Si Rambo.
What's worrisome here, TSM have been holding this position from the very beginning, and they see that the circle is shifting away. You mentioned the split positioning from this squad, but the moment that circle pulls away from them, it's going to be tricky. They're looking to engage in a fight that's already happening in front of them. It's against FaZe as Frex falls incredibly low. The catwall maybe giving them some time to reset. Deleting the black hole here. Frex is in trouble still, and so is Snipe down. Literally one shot as Phony Head tries to run away.
Oh, Riddle Order 100 thieves on the back of this as well. TSM looking to maybe do a little bit of griefing.
Riddle Order
that first fight against Fire Beavers.
Bam.
Oh, Yukio! With the wingman shots here. Riddle Order still in trouble. Only one tap left on the blood. To avoid the Arcstar. Hit fire shots with the Prowler.
Tengah lapangan pemirsa. Kena tembak dari berbagai arah. Saya sudah bingung. Saya angkat tangan. Kalau saya di sana, saya sudah angkat tangan. Wih, Prowler yang sangat bam. Oke. Riddle. Boleh Riddle nih.
Fantastic 3 points there from TSM, barely even committing.
Oh no,
only just
another
now
team.
have
Check
all
armor
three members
Verhulst.
got back together the entire time. Didn't get vision of which one
Ini
it was.
tes
but one
MMA
really
energi,
holding down that
anjir,
tunnel because they
hampir
didn't want to secure that route back to the tunnels for themselves. So many teams eliminated up the top there. Dark Zero even managing to snag one of those kills away. Dark Zero himself very good at range.
And safely inside of that building too, but the circle is pulling away from that eventually into the Ghost Town area where KCP have been settled down from the very beginning. You mentioned TSM maybe looking for the rotational approach through the tunnel, but guess who else is there? Optic Gaming from the beginning. So has LG, as they are going to be rotating from the south side of the map, have also had to deal with Optic Gaming. If LG isn't careful, yes, they could be on the brink of the circle, but they can also get sandwiched by TSM if they end up committing to rotating from the tunnel.
Oh, is this actually going to be a commitment here from Alliance and Exit? I would have thought they'd get out of each other's way, but Alliance won blood and two of Exit are already on the ground.
Exit blackout.
Alliance with the crowd cheering up behind them, giving them their energy. We saw the legend of Vex coming out to his first land with confidence. Oxygen approaching from the slight high ground hilltop, close to the choke point that exits out of Geyser. They have a nice rotation because this is where the next circle is going to be pushing.
Alliance always late to the party, but they make a splash when they get there, don't they? Exit have been struggling earlier on in the tournament. We thought maybe they turned their fortunes around. Game one doesn't lend that any hope for them, but no teams anywhere near 50.
Hello.
There's still plenty of time for the split two winners from NA to come back into this.
Fucking easy.
Essentially where the ring will end up. Any long-time APAC South fans might remember a classic moment from here, actually, where we had Team Great, a last chance qualifier team who won the championship in that very position.
So epic to be able to recall moments like this. Remember, these teams are putting so much. We're talking about Guild though now, and RG in some trouble. Nathan being able to pop this again. Look who's trying to fully send it. It's going to be Dark Zero. Gets no round. Trying to send the gear side. Gets taken out, but so does NRG. Dark Zero with the approach and the gold knockdown shield to get the res with some extra help.
Oh, and Jin Bird, he's clutched up so many times this tournament. He is really back into peak form. You love to see it. LG, they are way down in the tunnels right now. TSM have not decided to go this way through. They cleared out so much space with all of those teams dying up towards Overlook just now. The TSM are able to come down from the east. So LG, they'll have to get through Optic, who are currently at the mouth of those tunnels.
This is so difficult here. They do have the catalyst, but it's about how they approach this.
Power Ranger.
Then you have to deal with Oxygen Esports on the outside. Look at the catwalk now going the black hole on top of that, sending everything that they got just in case through that doorway. But look who's looking to try to save up the gaming.
Kamu jadi penerawang, guys.
They already get
Apakah dia akan menembak dengan benar di balik dinding?
Be a little bit too passive there. LG takes the more proactive approach, and all of a sudden Optic is out
OG gugur
from this first game.
Right now, LG is going to be going up in stocks, playing off the bunker doors here. You see the piercing spikes put down in front of them. That's
TSM di sini.
To contest LG. They already get the first stock right here. Oxygen now
TSM,
playing a lot more
okay,
passive,
Q Horizon.
putting themselves in a risky situation. They're not going to get involved here, but TSM versus LG will.
Nice defensive gravity lift there, I believe. Is that's blocking TSM out from going in. But he doesn't
Oh
need it.
shit, man.
Damage on the Prowler.
Welcome Big E coming out here doing Big
Mati
E
TSM.
things. Let's jump into a listening with
Iya
TSM
kan?
after Effect gets
Telat aku, Cok.
reps.
Live-ku.
I'm safe right here. Maybe not. Can you connect to you? Maybe, yes. Maybe later on. When they're,
I don't have
you gotta
ball,
shoot
I don't
them.
have ball for him.
You gotta cue me and you shoot them.
I'm shooting.
TSM.
You can give me. You can give me.
Ih, Joshua, aku mau roasting dia.
We need to take guy inside.
Masih, Josh. Aja sini.
I'm gonna scan.
I need Omics over wall. Actually,
Nobody inside right now. Look at scan. I'm healing up.
Weh, apa, Cok? TSM tuh aku dukung Josh ini, Cok. Kalian TSM sama Blvckhvnd.
I'm healing outside right now. We need to look for ultic subs inside so we can get wall back. Put Q's on this doorway over here, Evan.
Yeah. Someone's close doorway. Off the bat.
Are you good?
Yeah.
I'm only on my side right now. We have digis. Use the digis. I'm looking. I got Kraber from the rooftop. They have a Kraber on the rooftop in the right building. I think we need to play for the kills on the rock out here. We play so we can win this game. We can win this game here. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. You want to walk out right side? Yeah, we're gonna play on the front and shoot the team on the roof. Okay. They're right here. Can we shoot? Can we all peek this?
One sec.
Yeah. The solo's on the roof. He's giving out. Crack the catalyst. Horizon has the Kramer. 74 on Sear. 74.
Sakit. No. What the fuck is that?
Rubens don't cover, I don't think. Oh, they do cover.
DZ modar, Cok. Berapa detik itu? 5 detik, coy.
I have 3 frags. You need?
Inside, coming down. Shoot front. You're gonna count one straight across here, I think, Kramer.
Yeah, I'm gonna walk to the left and do it, I think. And then wall to the right.
Poin TSM 24, anjing.
Straight across here, I think. Okay?
Yep.
Okay, scan. What's the scan?
There's a team right on our left, like really close left.
Play the right side of our wall.
Up. 72, armor. Crack, knock. Nice.
I cracked three. Lay down.
Gini, TSM posisinya enak banget asli. Tapi tim kiri nggak tahu ya. Boom. Nice ult dari katalis. Aku megang TSM bakal win. TSM win ini. TSM menang ya. Dapat momen dah. Oh, KCP. Oh, masih stay 3, cowok. No, don't. Take a bet, cover. TSM win ini udah. Left. Auto win. Gila. Di game pertama TSM. Apakah TSM akan juara lagi, guys? Udah gila.
Amazing catwall to secure that dump on top of it. At least when it comes to the rotation, Alliance on the other side to be fallen in second place. But it was a 12 KP game, Genome. What a way to open up today's finals lobby.
I think it was actually a 15 KP game. There was no 12 just between Verhulst and Hal. Reps chiming in with 3 as well. I mean, yeah, look, honestly, give some props to Raven for that one. The plan throughout that entire game is phenomenal. The macro on display there, as we talked about, that spot they picked, it had so many options. Didn't matter where the circle was going to go, TSM were going to be in a good spot to move out from there. But then the patience, they didn't go too deep, even though there was so many fights there. Really, they could have picked and taken on the north side. They just went for a few KP. They go through the tunnels, and unlike the other teams in there who hadn't cleared out their back, TSM did exactly that, and then it was the easiest spot to play from there. But still, a hard 3v3 to finish on and beat Alliance.
What was also a very big blessing there was the fight that was going down in the tunnels between LG, Optic, and what we saw from Oxygen that caused Oxygen to play as a solo. Looking back at the final circle, we heard the comms firsthand between Hal, Verhulst. You saw the information being scanned by reps, but the tracking was insane. You heard them try to shoot down the horizon, literally won in that moment, but pushing this very slowly, allow them to get out of the action.
Udah megang banget gitu Chessnya.
Yeah, so they'd already taken down Dark Zero by this point. Moist also in a tough spot. You saw all of them on the
Ulti Kaltalisnya udah ngambil wilayah dia.
Honestly, I was wondering if this was just a little bit too early. Obviously, it does split the fight, and now Alliance have to deal with KCP on the other side. They help them out of it, making sure to stay back, to stay south near that rock, so they're not challenging Alliance at the same time, and they can take these as essentially separate 3v3s. Now that KCP is finished off, they wait for the wall to go down. It has lasted long enough, and you can see Alliance is shoved into this corner here. Once that rock is out of play, it's too easy for TSM.
You're only playing behind the little arm of the tree at this point.
Wow, berapa damage orang ini?
We have to highlight this legend.
2K.
Looking at the amount of kills that this entire team put down. Rep for the 3 kills like we were talking about before. Dino playing a lot more passively. Hal coming in with the 6k lead. Over 2k damage between him and Verbals.
Yeah, so that's making me think that Reps was the one staying in the tunnel, right? Because you remember we were talking about, we didn't quite see it on screen, but there were 2 all the way up in those fights while Reps was holding it down, which is interesting because they had talked about role changes within the team coming into this tournament, talking about how Verhulst was going to be playing more of an anchor role. Doesn't seem to be how it's played out here.
Kena gendong guys ya, nampaknya tuh Mamang Reps.
On the heartbeat sensor, all the squads are rotating through that tunnel side. It's enough information for them to look at the squads rotating from Overlook and to see the squads that are rotating to the south side that they would have to worry about a 15 kill done.
Blvckhvnd dengan momen yang sangat kurang baik.
Susun di awal. With 7 KP, we saw Effect putting in the damage before he was taken down by Verhulst himself. KCP calling out the circle great inside of that building, even Nasty at the very end, getting a double with the nade.
I'm not going to lie, Vicky. I'm feeling a short day. I'm feeling a short day. I'm looking at this. Okay, we've got teams with seeding points as well. Remember, TSM,
wah ini open championnya di poin berapa?
some seeding points and all picking up a bunch
52 game. Masa ya 3 game kelar, Cok?
7 on top of the 9 they already had. But TSM is just storming towards that match point and eligibility.
The script writes itself. The fans were talking to us before. They wanted to see TSM win a lot. We're talking about Alliance. Looking on the second page here, Gambare not having.
Ya masalahnya kalau TSM 3 kali berturut gimana tuh?
Rotating away from the Overlook.
Gak seru anjir. Orang bayar tiket ya kan, Bang, final. Finalnya udah kelar deh katanya.
That's a great picture. It's one of my favorite ones. As we take a look.
Kok setengah jam doang, Bang? Aku beli tiket mahal-mahal katanya.
To the points that some of these teams are starting with. You mentioned it, Dino. TSM starts with 9 points from today.
Orang baru beli makan bentar keluar kan? Udah kelar dah. Lah kok bubar? Siapa yang menang?
Stage are currently the top 3 teams in our finals here. Boys start with 10, Alliance with 8.
Kayaknya ada yang bakal kontes TSM buat ngehalangin. Itu poin kali kan? Biasa gitu kan? Kayak Furia kemarin sampai berapa poinnya?
I mean, we talked about it at the start. I said there are a couple of teams who are just running away with this. That despite the incredible display of talent we're seeing here on this stage, Vicky, that are just looking better than the rest.
And we absolutely take those. And after that first game, deciding how the rest of this day is going to go, I'm so excited, Gino. That was just our first game on World's Edge. We still have one more game to go on World's Edge before we swap over to
orang enaknya yang
that's
sengit
coming to you on the other side of this break.
Mana perlawanan anyway? Ya mental nggak siap juga, landingan pun jelek pasti kan. Landing dibuat kayak gitu tuh. Apa nih pertama? Jawablah.
Ya dapat apa? Nggak dapat apa-apa kan?
Dapat. Langsung kontak admin ya, Cok. Isi waktu luang lah lebih tepatnya.
Dikirim ke rumah ntar minta alamat biasanya kayak gitu. Season kemarin kan banyak orang tua sama dari
luar ya kencang lah. Kalau orang tua BS mana mau orang.
WD Black, the official storage partner of the Apex Legends Global Series.
Welcome back to London, everybody. Welcome to the Copper Box Arena. And what a start to our match point finals we have just had. A team who's pretty comfortable in this setting, having picked up a trophy the last time they were here. TSM get off to the hottest of starts.
An unbelievable start to the day here on Sunday. I was going to come up here and start talking about, well, you know, TSM, their win rates aren't that great on World's Edge, and then they go and blow us all out of the water. An amazing start, and I tell you what, they're on their way to match point already, our TSM.
They certainly have. I'm sure that everybody who's on the stage is wondering what TSM had for breakfast, because boy, do they look ready, do they look locked in and prepared to march towards another championship. But only game one done, of course. It's time for us to head into the second match of our match point finals. We're staying on World's Edge here, everybody, and the drop ship is ready.
Of course, we did see a contest in map number one. It was Geo versus Hand, and Ganbari Artisan were able to get the upper hand against Blvckhvnd. Will they be able to get any revenge here, or are we going to see, maybe, just maybe, the same thing happen yet again? With it being the only contest, it means everyone else gets to loot freely. Of course, we had an Eastern Zone in match number one. We'll have to see where it pulls this tape.
Just as the teams take a little second to hit their drop spots, it gives us a second to just praise Danny Verhulst. My goodness, what a performance he had in that game one, especially in the end game, not missing.
Fight lagi kali ini, boys.
Which led TSM to that win, but here is that contest you were talking about, Dan. Already some shots being fired.
And it's such an influential contest as well because it holds a central area of the map as already Geo got the upper hand here. Straight up the zip line and straight into his face.
Aduh, dua kali, cuk.
Blvckhvnd already, and this is looking like it's going to be 2-0 in the final result of this contest. For now, just one player trying to escape, and it looks like Yuzna is going to be able to chase him down. He should be able to get the damage done.
Emang nggak mau pindah aja gitu.
But it's looking like landslide. It's going to be Geo's once more.
Geo will win it yet again, and that means they can now just calmly loot up as we get to see where the circle is going to be heading. We're going north, which is great news for all of the World's Edge fans. We've seen so many southern zones throughout this tournament. Survey camp is going to be around where we're finishing here for match number 2. So Riddle Order in the prime position to move in and set up camp. 100 Thieves exit, a nice quick rotation from them, from Skyhook, and of course FaZe over at Climatizer will be easy for them as well.
So for now, it's just the looting part. You can see that's the only contest that we do have, like you quite rightly said, and I'm sure that everyone who's watching is aware of as well. It's going to be a tough zone for TSM to get to after their hot start. The Fire Beavers, they're going to have good access, they're going to have prior. Riddle Order, like you mentioned, going to have prior as well. And we know those back rocks is pretty much the area we want to hold. Overlooking a lot of survey. Extreme height differential that you can get from holding there is such a difference maker towards the end game.
I think one of the most impressive things from match one with TSM was how well they held that choke for so long throughout the game. But a very different approach now going into match number 2. Now for NRG, of course, only 5 points at the moment, quite a way behind TSM, but of course we know what they're capable of on Sunday.
This is really interesting actually. The contest that went down may have just thrown the timing of this rotate for NRG off. They may have been expecting a team to have already left from Landslide, but instead, Geo are putting some shots into their back. It looked like NRG managed to avoid that, but that's another kind of thing that happens right on contest. It's not only your own
rotational timing that gets thrown off, you could throw other teams off too.
It's something NRG will be aware of and also keeping their ear to the ground just in case that fight's still going on when they're making their rotation, so they could third party if they want. Now TSM have already made their way north, and again it's going to be an evac tower to keep on going up towards the area of survey camp, or they could try and set up a little bit south of survey camp if they feel like it is going to pull a little bit, because it still could shift east, and maybe that's what TSM are trying to predict.
2 balloons going to be used by TSM on this rotate. One over at Blvckhvnd, the other one carried in the back pocket, in the backpack of one of the players, as we see also FC Destroy approaching the bridge as well. So TSM have the timing on them, and they can get control of that little building just up on the height. So TSM, I imagine that's where they'll look to play from for quite some time. Dark Zero heading right in towards zone, but FC Destroy not too far away from TSM here.
And when it comes to mentality, when you are a competitor in this final, you've just seen TSM do that. The fact they started on 9 points already, you know TSM are within touching distance of match point. You've got to make sure that you set the record straight in match number 2. You make sure you're the one who can put destiny in your own hands and get a victory on the board so you can get closer. Because I tell you what, I would not be surprised if TSM are up there after, it could be match 2, if not match 3.
Very, very interesting to see how that dynamic of what was a monster game 1 from TSM changes things, like you say, for everyone else in this one. Exit though. Been a bit of a shaky tournament, but they are here. And that's the most important thing to remember. But at the moment, they're under some duress. It's Moist Esports, the Aussies, who are underneath them. And I say that black hole didn't look too good coming down from height.
Remember, Moist did start on 10 points coming into today after their incredible performance in that winners bracket. We'll have to see whether they can just hold off Exet here. It was a pretty poor black hole that might have just allowed Moist to stay alive, but one goes down, and this could open things up for Exet to try and finish off the pieces.
Trying to finish it off, but also look at the kill feed. Oxygen are getting involved in this, and it's looking like really bad news here for Moist Esports. The shots being fired, they're kind of pinched between 2 teams. And speaking of fights going down, you can see Fnatic, they're involved in one at the moment, and they've just won it over Geo.
Geo eliminated, and that's great news for Fnatic. There's a lot of extra loot that they can pick up now on their rotation, and they can actually hold this train track for quite some time, and maybe be able to pick up a lot of teams that are going to try and rotate through the northern way after they come from that southern tip. But it will be a real decision from them as to whether they fancy just going for those kills, playing a little bit more edge, or if they want to push more central in towards survey camp. But at the moment, Skyhook, there is just a lot of teams who are posturing up against one another.
Yeah, it's a bit of a bottleneck at the moment over at Skyhook, and 100 Thieves, Exet, Oxygen all trying to find their way through. Moist Esports have been eliminated, as you can see in the feed, but Oxygen now starting to chip away at Exet. Reeds is going to be the man to get that opening knock, and that is the knock that they wanted. That is the knock that they needed. Now they can close the gap and try and pressurize even more.
Didn't move quick enough to actually re-engage in the fight, though. You can see there with the silhouettes, the res came through, and Oxygen know full well they have been too slow. They have to move back out, and they don't want to be pushing on this. In the grand finals, you can't afford to just have a lackluster push. It has to be a full commit. You can't be wishy-washy with it. Instead, everyone together. I think that's a sensible decision from Oxygen, who currently are in 4th place, 15 points. Just as to set the kind of standard here, they are 20 points behind TSM at the moment.
Certainly a dark horse in this tournament. They have been, I would say, one of the most impressive teams that have not been talked about enough in the build-up to this tournament, and certainly what they've done over the last 3 days to get to this finals is something they will be happy with. But getting this close, Dan, as you know, it's great to get to the finals. That's mission 1, right? But then you've got a chance of winning it. And Oxygen may be thinking that. Fnatic, though, they're on a slightly different path right now, going down south.
I think for Oxygen, as long as they can get into that final circle, I mean, I'd always back them with how well they've been fighting. The decision-making has been excellent every single time they get into those 3v3 engagements and also the final circles. The wins speak for themselves. They've been able to find throughout this weekend. You could say the same for Fnatic, who have also had several victories on their side, a couple of them coming on World's Edge, so they will feel comfortable here on this map. But remember, if we were to see TSM get onto match point here in match 2, we do switch over to Storm Point for match 3, and suddenly that opens up a whole new dynamic for a lot of these squads who maybe were performing better on that map.
Back over to survey camp, you can see Ascend. They're fighting against Dark Zero right now. They did lose one. Look, he's going to be res, but Dark Zero, they're not going to let him get away with that. Ascend destroyed, dismantled by Dark Zero here. That's going to be their side of survey camp. They do not want to let anyone enter.
And it was an early exit for Dark Zero in match number 1, but 17 points at the moment.
in third place, and we know what Dark Zero are capable of. They've won championships, they've lifted trophies, and they want to do it again. When it comes to match point, Dark Zero are the match point specialists. They just seem to know how to get it done. Whether it's composure, whether it's getting to match point fast, whether it's not falling to the pressure when you are there on match point, Dark Zero just seem to have the perfect recipe as a squad.
Something to note as well from our game one, just while we have a little lull in the action here. TSM, yes, 36 points is where they stand at the moment. They're not too far off of 50 where match point is, but just in behind them, involved in that end game, was Alliance as well. They have 24 points, so it's not just TSM who might be able to jump on a match point in this next game. Alliance will need a big game, don't get me wrong, but they're very capable of reaching it right now.
They are capable of it. I mean, they've not really had massive games as close to what TSM were able to achieve, but we've seen it throughout online season. It's definitely achievable for them. For TSM, they only need 14 points to get to match point. So even if they were to finish kind of top 5 with a good amount of kills, still very achievable for them as well. But we've seen so many times when teams are starting to get closer to match point that they fall out in the early stages. But good news for TSM is they have been able to post up nice and early. So here's Alliance, where you were talking about, the only caustic in the lobby at the moment, and it really could make a difference in those final circles.
Fnatic and Alliance both in trouble at the moment. Initially, it was Alliance firing into the back of Fnatic, and Dark Zero trying to hold everybody out of survey camp once again. Zaini wants to finish them off here. He wants to push, he wants to pressure, and Dark Zero are doing everything they can at the moment to control not just the building, but the entirety of survey camp.
Yeah, Dark Zero just trying to spread themselves out here at survey camp and trying to eliminate any other team from getting in and taking those spots off of them. Sensible decision though to back off ever so slightly. You don't want to push and get too aggressive and lose one player and then allow a third party to happen, so they need to do this tactically.
They're trying to fly in, and oh my goodness, what
Oh!
pretty good. 30 even better. It's Fnatic eliminated. Dark Zero keeping everyone on their feet. They get the armor swaps and find yet another victim here inside a survey camp.
You can see how they were planning it. They wanted to make sure they could get in, get out, and make sure those shield swaps would happen, and it just meant that no other team could even possibly push them here. Fire Beavers are close though, and we know what Fire Beavers are like. They like to hold down that W key, they like to get aggressive, but they also need to be careful and aware of what could happen if they expose themselves from the west.
Yeah, a little bit of a scary moment there for Dark Zero. Like you say, Fire Beavers putting some good damage in as they tried to cross back, but the good news for Dark Zero, nobody went down. That signal wasn't given, like it was for Dark Zero or Fnatic a few moments ago, that we can close that ground and we can push and clear them out. For now though, elsewhere on the map, we're going over towards Climatizer at the moment. This is Optic Gaming on our screens, but right next to them, a couple of other teams as well. FC Destroy and Pioneers very, very close here. And Skillcase decided maybe there's too many teams to make him feel comfortable.
They are going to be forced together. Pioneers are also in the area. And now Optic Gaming just need to make sure they try and group up. They're so scattered at the moment.
Skillcase has gone down and now it's dropped and Nox, who have to try and salvage something here. KCP do hold, they get that first knock, but FC Destroy also here as well. The zone closing behind them, but they will be safe in this little corner.
And we've seen what FC Destroy could do with this composition on this map, as Zane is just going to escape, rat out, and try and stay alive here as FC Destroy have made their fortress once more. All these teams at Climatizer will eventually have to move in towards survey camp. It's TSM that are waiting for them, gatekeeping them, but FC Destroy do have the ability just to make sure they stay alive right now.
FC Destroy with this walking fortress of a composition. And we saw how effective it can be if they can get into a good spot in zone yesterday, but also walking forward as a fortress, a pretty good thing to do as well. So difficult to push, but Optic, they've lost one. Skillcake is down at the moment, and like I mentioned, looks pretty unlikely they're going to be able to get that banner as well.
And I think teams like FC Destroy are going to be delighted that we don't have the Digi-Threat in the Crafter today, because playing Bang, they can get those smokes down. You can then traverse across the map and just avoid all that fire without having to worry about Digi-Threats too much. Now, of course, Digi-Threats still exist. They can still happen, but it's not going to be as prominent in these lobbies. Now it's out of the Crafter. So 15 squads remain. 100 Thieves, another squad who exited very early in match number 1, are just holding this western side. If they do decide to push through these train tracks, it's Alliance who are waiting for them.
Alliance in her eyes right now, and as they try and hold off the push coming in from 100 Thieves, it's a perfect time to jump into a listening with Alliance.
If they push, they get pinched. We just stole it.
Yep.
Coste call.
Commissars.
Someone evacuating.
They have to come this side. Cat good. I'm just holding back here.
Yeah, we might get TPs from here.
They're leaving now, they're leaving.
You don't need to hold the Q, you need to just ADS, they're gonna hit it as well.
Yeah, I'm just holding my Q, making them scared.
You can ADS as well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know, but I'd rather Q in case they push, you know, it's better to counter Q. Like, if they Q me, I'm just gonna Q instantly back, okay? Basically.
That team has to come and fight us, right? Or go around. They can't really, unless the evac from here.
It's a Catalyst Horizon team, I think. I don't know what the third is.
It is.
They have the evac over, otherwise they come fight us.
That's fine, that's fine. That's what we want. We just don't want them to A-pulse.
This team should have left by now as well.
Yeah, they're playing north side.
Bangalore team here.
They're leaving, they're coming your side. Careful, keep yourself up. Nobody close on my scan.
I'm gonna put 2 more barrels on this side.
Listen, there's a duo here, Horizon and Bangalore, and Citi's holding back there still on Grandmas.
I'll give you 1 barrel here.
Just make sure we kill the team on the right. We need to take that spot. If they slide down, they need to die, okay?
Okay.
Just don't die for it. We just pinch.
Shall we head this way?
Yeah, that's about right. Don't let them land on that spot. We're gonna have to save our APC for that spot, by the way.
It's fine. We're just walking late.
Alliance making sure that they keep track of everything that's going on around them at the moment. You heard from the comms, they were waiting for the decision from 100 Thieves. Are they going to evac tower? That's the only way to get around them. But now you're seeing a push of what could be a very good position to hold. Riddle Order versus NRG, and Riddle Order are taking them apart here.
Oh my goodness gracious, first goes down. Can they follow up? NRG down like flies as Riddle Order assert their dominance and continue their fine form elsewhere. Exet versus LG. They've already lost 1, but they've traded it out. LG now lost 2.
Exit looking like they're on top of this. 100 Thieves have fallen in the meantime. Fire Beaver's involved in that, as Nocturnal sends in the Rolling Thunder. But look at LG, they're trying to make this one a little bit mixy, a little bit dicey. As fun is re-knocked, but look at the damage coming in now from Nocturnal on that ultimate. Yanya left on his own. It's a 1v2, but if anyone could do it, Yanya can.
It's a 1v2, but there's a lot of noise that's being made as LG Chivas do get eliminated. Exet stay on top. Where's the third party, though? Is anyone going to be in the area? Yes! Alliance are there. Effect gets the knock, and Exet can't take a break. They can't manage to get the shield swap. And now, will Alliance try and press up on this?
Yeah, that's the question, right? Can they push on it? They've got other teams in the vicinity, and also they have to come over that ridge, which is going to expose them. But I mean, who cares if you're Effect? He takes to the sky. He sends XX Scarper in. He wants more kills.
And Exet are just going to run past the one rat you saw on Oxygen. He was just hiding. He was trying to survive. He might get caught out because of this. But I love the aggression from Alliance. You can see the confidence in this squad.
And they have found that rat. Yes, they have indeed. Another kill goes down. Alliance will get all of this loot to